Welcome back, y'all. Tonight, we're going to be talking about the big weekend for visitors for our Tennessee Volunteers. We're also going to be talking about a few position changes and some players that I think Tennessee needs to try to get on the field, or they're going to be on transfer portal watch. As always, y'all, please do make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. All right, we're going to start off with our weekend visitors list, and I don't know exactly what day they're going to be up on campus, so I'll put March the 7th through the 9th. They could have been up here today. Maybe it's going to be tomorrow just for a day. Maybe it's the whole weekend for some of these guys. No idea. Either way, this is a very healthy list. It's not a long one, but it's healthy with blue chip caliber talent. You can see the guys that we have coming up that are already committed to Tennessee, being headlined by Faison Brandon. He's going to do a great job of helping us to close out on a lot of players. So expect him to make several trips up to Knoxville over spring, over summer, so on and so forth. But either way, let's take a look at the uncommitted players, and that one is going to be headlined by Tristan Keys, 5-star wide receiver, #1 wide receiver, I think on maybe every site. He's top 10, I think, on every site too, but he's a stud. We saw him in that Polynesian Bowl going up against upperclassmen, looked really good there, and at that point, he was actually about to commit to Tennessee. He's really close with Faison Brandon, so hopefully this is something that's going to help us to maybe, take that extra step forward with Tristan Keys, because we will be his first unofficial visit of the spring. He's going to take several more. He does already have an OV lineup with us and also 4 other programs. We've talked about that before. The next player is going to be Jordan Edmonds. He's a 5-star cornerback from here in Georgia. I think that he goes to Sprayberry High School, something like that. He's like 6'3". He could maybe play safety, but really, his cornerback skill set is just through the roof. We talked about this earlier today, that this staff loves those taller, longer cornerbacks, and that's exactly what Jordan Edmonds is. So hopefully we do make a strong impression with him, and we do want to bring in as many blue chip caliber secondary players as possible. So hopefully that one goes well. Also, we have Carter Meadows, who's a 5-star edge. We have Zach Groves, who's a 4-star edge. And we also have Damari Simeon, who is a 4-star defensive tackle. We know that with Rodney Garner, with Coach Chop, with Coach Ayers, with this entire team from top to bottom, we're always going to be able to go out and get blue chip caliber defensive line talent that wants to see what Tennessee is all about. And I think that really, y'all, at this point, at that position specifically, it's kind of like how Formal was, where, hey, look, we're hand selecting. We're going to be turning down blue chip caliber players because there are so many that want to come and play for Tennessee. And I'm not saying that to brag, but I'm just saying, listen, sometimes you got to step back and just be thankful for the situation that Tennessee's in, especially with the guys in the trenches. So I love that whole list right there. And the last player is going to be Joey O'Brien, and he's a 4-star safety. He's listed as an athlete, actually, but he's 6'4". Man, look, I love the idea of having 6'3", 6'4" safeties, because they can roam the middle of the field, and it is so hard to throw passes over them. So love how this list looks. And, again, it's not a big one, but for the first weekend, man, I think that this is very, very strong. Now let's get into some position changes. This first one is really more of like a cross-training situation. This is Tennessee's safety room. Y'all can see the player's year, their size, all of that. To me, it actually looks good on paper. But at number 6, we have Caleb Beasley, who we all know came here to play cornerback. We saw him actually earlier today playing at cornerback. So he looks good playing at corner. I just think that he's actually probably better suited to play at safety. And this is something that we've heard might be happening. It sounds like he will be getting cross-trained at safety. I would have to anticipate also at star. That's something that P said, look, I think that he's a prototype star player just based off of his build and his skill set, things like that. Really good size, 6'1", 200 pounds. And he looks good playing man-to-man coverage. But my biggest concern with him is coming up to the line of scrimmage and having to play man coverage, which is something that we didn't see him do last season as a true freshman. Everything that he did was off coverage. But I'm just a little bit concerned about how he gets in and out of his breaks. So playing at safety more off of the football, I think that he would look a lot better in man. Obviously, zone is going to be great. To me, he's more of a zone secondary player. But he's also big enough to be physical and things like that. Everything that you would need for, playing at safety, I would say for sure, but also playing at star. So we'll see what happens there. And, really, whoever that second safety is going to be, that's going to be a tough battle, okay? Maybe even for Andre Turntine. I don't know. I'm not going to sit here and say Andre Turntine is definitely going to start, even though I think that he probably will. But he might. He does. He will have some competition. And iron sharpens iron. So this is a room with a lot of very capable bodies. And, there's just, to me, obviously, we didn't get to see a whole lot today, but I don't feel like there's a lot of separation between most of these players. Now let's jump into this Leo room, and it was actually pointed out to me earlier today in our live stream that at number 5, Christian Gas is listed as a defensive lineman on Tennessee's website, and he was a linebacker coming out of high school, like a Michael Will linebacker. And technically, Leo is a linebacker inside of Tennessee's system. They'll be asked to drop into coverage and do some different things, but they're mainly going to be pass rushers and stand-up ends. So I like him at that spot, and it's something that the staff was talking to him about when he was in high school too. And he said that he loved the thought of being able to go from Mike to Will to also rushing that passer. He looks really good out in space. He's got a really quick first step, long arm. So he's prototyping pretty much every single category for this spot. So I do understand, just like with that portion of it, why the staff wants to move him to Leo. And looking at this room, it's filthy loaded. It is deep. It's one of the deepest in the entire country, I'm sure. And that's just one edge rusher. The other side, our strong side ends, that's another one that looks really deep. So looking at this from top to bottom, the bottom three, those in blue, those guys are players that I think are going to get their start somewhere else, but they could also play at Leo. So looking at Jaden Lofton, looking at Marion Dye, I think that both of those players will start off on the strong side. And then looking at Jaden, he's a guy that's listed as a linebacker on Tennessee's website. But I know for sure that the staff has told him that they want him to get cross-trained some at Leo. Now, he's going to be limited going throughout spring. So how much can he really get cross-trained? I don't know, because I don't know exactly what he's going to be doing. But he can always get in those mental reps. So I just, kind of wanted to point that out there for y'all. But going back to Christian Gas, 6'3", 215 pounds. He's a guy that, before the season starts, he's going to have to gain at least 20 pounds. And I think that he can do that safely. He can get up to about 235, maybe even 240 without losing a step, just because he is so long. You can add that weight to his frame pretty easily, I would say. But he's a guy, man, you want to talk about versatility being added to this room, something that P and I started talking about with Jordan Ross, because you watch his film whenever he was coming out of high school. He's a guy that's tall, he's big, he's fast, he's twitchy, but he looks really good out in space. We said he looks like he could actually play like a middle linebacker for you. Like, that's how good he looks out in space. It's the same thing with Christian Gas. I think that Caleb Herring looks pretty good out in space. He probably looks a little bit better out in space than Joshua Josephs does. And not to say that Joshua Josephs is a slouch out there, but he's much more of a, rush the passer, stop the run, doesn't look the best out in coverage and things like that. So for the future, this room is going to be even deeper than it looks right now on paper. I'm telling you, Coach Banks wants to use these guys in a very versatile way. I think that his whole plan for this defense is every single spot on his defense, they can all, hey, we can rush the pass, so we can play in coverage. You don't know where it's coming from or what we're going to be doing, and that is going to be very deadly. So I love all those thoughts, but there are some other reasons that Christian Gas is going to be getting his start at Leo, in my opinion. Number one, Tennessee's linebacker room with our Mike and Will guys, it is so deep, and we've talked about that a million times, right? I mean, that's another room. It's going to be one of the deepest in the entire country. And that's not to say that Christian Gas can't play there, but if you've got that many bodies, and if you're looking at this room, you say, well, we've got, 4, maybe 5 guys, but you look at number 4 and you say Emmanuel Okoye, who I haven't seen play since last spring. He looked good, but he's still very raw. He's a tremendous athlete. I've seen him do some just crazy things. He's able to literally push back offensive tackles with one arm. And it's like he doesn't really even know what he's doing. So I'm sure that he's gotten a lot more acclimated to playing football up to this point. I don't know, is he 100% healthy, or does the staff think that he's not acclimated enough to their liking, and they say, look, we got to throw in one more player just to be safe, just to be sure. And that's why Christian Gas is getting the start right there. Again, like we said, alongside with us having a very deep linebacker room already. But Christian Gas is still going to probably get cross-trained playing at Mike and at Will. So very versatile player, and I'm excited to see how this whole thing ends up playing out, man. I have no idea who's going to be the starter. Who's going to be, well, I think Joshua Joseph is probably going to start, but who's going to be number 2? Who's going to be number 3? I mean, I just think that there's a lot of different things that you can do with this team. We might see more Leo packages, right? Like, we might see more of those, like Rabbits packages, where we've got 2 guys playing Leo on the field at the same time. And typically, that's when Tennessee's in a 3-4 front or in a 2-4-5 front. So Tennessee did a lot of that in spurts. I think we ran a lot of that versus Alabama and Florida. So either way, man, I'm excited about the future of this team, especially adding a guy like Christian Gas to our Leo room. All right, y'all, we're going to end on Tennessee's tackle room and just take the time to look at the sizes of all the players inside of this room. And they are all very well put together. Like, they look good, okay? Really good body composition. This tackle room is serious. And I keep on saying it. I'm going to keep on saying it. I'm very excited to see and hear what they do in spring camp and in fall camp leading up to the season. But we'll start off down at number 8, Gage Ginther, redshirt freshman, 6'6", 310 pounds. I think that he's starting off at tackle, but he's probably going to have to make the move to guard, just because this room is so deep. We could probably use more help at guard. So, I would not be surprised if that happens. But I also want to point out a couple of players here that Tennessee really needs to try to find a spot for on the field this season, or they're probably going to be hitting that transfer portal. So the first player that we got to talk about is Larry Johnson. Look at his size, y'all. 6'7", 350 pounds, and wait till you see how good he looks. I mean, he's carrying that like an absolute and total dream. And he's not one of these look like Tarzan, play like Jane guys, man. Last season, I thought that he played very well, especially versus Oklahoma. We talked about him in that game so many times. I think that we got to see, what he could be. There was times where he's literally, crashing down the entire line of scrimmage. Very consistent with his pass pro. His footwork looks good. He's got long arms. He's very strong and powerful at the point of contact. He can literally do it all for you. So he's a guy that, could he maybe potentially get the start at right tackle over David Sanders? I think that that's going to be a battle. And I know that I've gone back and forth on it, but now I'm back on, look, I don't know. It's going to be hard to keep Larry Johnson off the field, but there's some other things that Tennessee could definitely do, right? Like you could maybe move Larry Johnson or maybe even David Sanders in at guard, and you would probably do that with the Larry Johnson just because he's older, and you don't necessarily want to hinder David Sanders from playing at tackle, which is what we got him to do. But once you move, from tackle to guard and then from guard to tackle, sometimes that messes with these offensive linemen, and I know that they don't want to mess with David Sanders. But all I'm saying here, y'all, is that we can find a spot for Larry Johnson. He might be that swing tackle. The other thing about him is I think he only played last season on the left side. So we know that, the left tackle, the starting left tackle is going to be Lance Hurd, and that does kind of open up the door for a David Sanders to win that spot. But there's more competition because J.C. Perry is a guy that, man, I love what I saw from him last season. I haven't seen him so far this spring, but I know that he's only going to get better. He's another one with just like a perfect frame, and I think that the staff absolutely has got to find a place for him to see the field at least some this season. I don't know if it's as urgent as it is for Larry Johnson, because you see Larry Johnson, he's a redshirt junior. He's going to want to start at some point. You might want to do it this season, or at least get a significant amount of playing time. And I'm not like against that by any means, just because, listen, David Sanders, he's going to need breaks. And, we talked about Larry Johnson. He's only played at left tackle, or at least that's all he did last season. But Lance Hurd, he's also going to need breaks. So can we rotate him in enough to give him good quality snaps, to put some good film out there, just something to keep him happy and to keep him on this team? Because I would hate for him to go. Like I said earlier, you can move him to guard. You can move maybe J.C. Perry to guard as well. And if you do that, then that means that Sam Pendleton more than likely has to move to center for you, and that could mess with that center room. But Tennessee's in a spot, y'all, where we've loaded up on talent in a very quiet but significant way. So I'm excited about this team. I'm excited about the first day of spring camp, and I'm looking forward to the rest of it. But those are my thoughts. Please share yours with me down in the comment section. And as always, please do make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. We'll see y'all on the next one. Thanks. Peace.